The following will be a, let's just say, haphazardly constructed and probably poorly conceived ramble about an idea I've been thinking about. Like in bits and pieces over time, but this morning while I was working on a video, I finally just put the pieces together in my mind while just having a think, because, hey, I'm, working on the sets for videos and just gluing shit. What else is there to think about other than the world? And so, yeah, this is something, a sort of revelation I just came to. I guess just came to in full, because a lot of the ideas are things I've been thinking for a while, but once again, this is when I'm putting them together, so I'm just gonna string them together in this little ramble that I'm making off the cuff in my garage, which is why the audio is dog shit. And you can put your opinions, thoughts, feelings in the comments below. Tell me where I'm right, tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm probably gonna say something silly here, but I think it needs to be said. The internet has this, I guess I wouldn't say the internet as a whole, but a contingent of the internet is deeply rooted in this sort of anti-intellectualism, and more specifically, a safety in not taking anything seriously. And I'm going to explain what that means, because I know that's a very broad, sweeping statement. But back in the day, right, when the internet was just beginning, it was a wild west of sorts, everyone knows this, and it was an escape from reality, and people treated it that way. So people would go in here to not be serious. They would not treat it as the real world. But that time isn't here anymore. The internet is the real world. It has taken over. It is a means of instant communication that everyone uses all the time. Everyone is constantly connected, and that's what the real world is. The internet is real. The people behind it are real. When people say the internet isn't real, they're just kind of, it's bullshit. And I know that when people say the internet isn't real, they aren't meaning it's literally not real. What they're saying is it's a bunch of ones and zeros that you can turn off at any moment and not have to think about anymore. But nonetheless, I think it's still important to point out that the internet very much is an extension of the real world and does have, it's not only a part of reality, it has weight in reality. So there's this contingent of people who, I guess, still treat the internet as an escape from reality rather than an extension of reality. And so there's a contingent of people who are extremely averse to the idea of taking the internet seriously, and in more extreme cases, are averse to taking anything seriously, mostly younger teens. And I want to explain why I think that happens, and why I think why it mostly manifests online. So, as like the most generic example of this possible, let's say you say something a little hoity-toity and intellectual on Twitter. You'll always get some douchebag in the replies saying, "Oh, you think you're the main character. Oh, you're being pretentious. Stop thinking about it too hard. It isn't that deep, bro." You've almost certainly seen some variation of the replies I've just listed. Probably on like a monthly basis, because it happens all the time. And no one says this to each other in real life, because it's an objectively dismissive and dickish thing to say to someone. And if you say that in real life, it's harder to say that to someone when you're looking them in the eyes. Because when you're looking at someone physically, you have to contend with the fact that they are a real person who really thought that for real reasons. But when you're online, it's sort of abstracted from any concreteness and reality, and you're hiding behind the veil of anonymity. And so you can tear down someone's thoughts with something that is just entirely dismissive and doesn't even take their point into consideration, free of charge. You don't have to risk anything. You don't have to feel anything. You can just do it, be a douche, and you don't have to think about it too hard. And where that becomes an issue is that it makes the internet this place where it's harder to have a serious discussion. Because I'm someone who takes things perhaps too seriously. I am extremely, I hate to say it this way, but yeah, like, I think about things very hard, and I want to figure out reality, essentially. I am at that stage where, I'm 19, I don't know shit, but I want to figure out shit. But these people online, if you pose something a little too intellectually stimulating, let's say, they'll say, it isn't that deep, stop taking things so seriously. And I think that's a byproduct of both this desire to see the internet become this place where we just all dick around and have fun, and no one ever has serious discussions ever, and simultaneously also that there's a safety in not thinking and not caring. Because if you don't care about anything, you don't have to think about anything, you don't have to try for anything, you don't risk being vulnerable or emotional, because you always have this perpetual veneer of not caring and not giving a shit about anything. It's a very safe position to be in, because if you're someone who doesn't care about anything, facing someone like me who cares a lot about everything and who is deeply wants to figure out the world, you're at an advantageous position socially, because I guess we give social credit, for lack of a better term, to people who aren't emotionally phased, who don't care, who, seem on the surface to be the more level-headed one, when in actuality, you're just an asshole, and also you aren't trying, and you are deliberately not trying because, as a way to not open yourself up. And there's a contingent of people who place a lot of value on that in the social discussion. Sorry, it's morning, I'm not really producing words like I usually would. And so, some of these may be a bit some of these points may be poorly articulated. But the point is, that annoys me. Another place where this manifests is in the trolling culture. There was this YouTube video I saw in my recommended called Liquid Chris and the King of Trolling, whatever, like some iteration of that. I don't think I got the exact title, but something like that. And I didn't watch it, which I know. But the reason why is because I saw the title and just thought to myself, I think me and the creator are on entirely different terms in regards to the subject. Now maybe I'm, jumping the gun a little bit. Maybe we're more intellectually aligned than I think, but when I see that title, I think I don't want to be the king of trolling. I don't think that is a good thing to be. I don't think we should look at that and say, wow, you did a good job. You're just because Liquid Chris is like part of the Chris Chan lore. I don't remember everything he did, because it's been a while since I've read up on my Christery, as it were. Put on a Turkey Tom video in the background and didn't even finish it. That is the extent of my knowledge of Chris Chan. But why should we give you credit for tricking an autistic person? Why is that an admirable thing to be? Why should anyone admire that? Because I don't think it is admirable, and I don't think anyone should think that if they are being honest with themselves. That is honestly kind of a bad thing to be. And yeah, it comes from this idea of you don't care, you just cause chaos, you just mess around. And sure, there is a place for not caring. If you're a comedian and you care too much, that could totally stunt your act, right? But I think as a general rule, we shouldn't dismiss people for caring. And that leads me to what I think is my least favorite word in the entire dictionary, the word pretentious. If you list out every word ever made, pretentious would be my least favorite. Because what it essentially amounts to is tearing down someone because they tried. Because they made an intellectual effort to understand the world. I misspoke there. And sure, I've used it myself to describe certain anime because they, act a little too hoity-toity about a point that doesn't really need that. But the more I think about it, the more I think, maybe I should just disown this word from my vocabulary altogether. Because it really is just, most of the time it's used anyway, I just think to myself, like, why are we knocking people for trying? If you want to use the word pretentious, I think the prerequisite is you have to have a really good reason, and hopefully, I think in the best case scenario, you disprove their point. You say, you think you're all important, but your point is bad, therefore that's pretty pretentious, yo. Like, make sure what they're saying doesn't have substance. If they're saying something with substance, though, oftentimes the word pretentious is just used by dickbags who just don't want to think, who don't want to be intellectually challenged or to have to consider the world in any meaningful way, who want to stay within this idea of not caring, because once again, there's safety in that. And that's why I've really grown to dislike that word. And yeah, I think that's the gist of what I wanted to say. But overall, like, what should we do about this? I think we should just acknowledge that people should care about things, that we should try to figure out the world, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That if someone says something a wee bit too philosophical on Twitter, maybe consider what they're saying. Instead of saying, damn bro, you really do be the main character, we should acknowledge that that person is stupid. That they aren't considering anything that is said. If you really disagree with someone and think that they're saying something dumb, like, attack their point, not just that they made an effort to make a point. That's it. See ya.